to be back in Jersey for this event. I just need a clicker because I prepared a few visuals for you. There we are. All right. And then we have the presentation. Look at that. Amazing. Okay, cool. Well, I was going to talk a little bit about what's on my mind and see what all of you think, and maybe have a couple of minutes for questions if we're lucky. But what's been fascinating, and I think what a lot of us are talking about on the edges here between breaks, is the this Cambrian explosion of new technology and the implications that this technology is happening on every industry. And I've been thinking a lot about the implications on creativity and marketing and entertainment to some extent. And I've been thinking about this in the context of waves of change. You know, what are things that are going to be completely different? And what are the driving forces? Because to me, this is where all the opportunities lie, right? Is what this technology truly transforms, and then what businesses are going to, make that possible and accessible to the common person. And so 5 waves of change. I'm going to run through this because I would love to just share some of these thoughts, but then again, happy to see whatever's on your minds. The first one is not is the most obvious. The first one is that we're entering an era where creativity is the new productivity. Now think about this. We have always stood out in the workforce over hundreds, if not thousands of years based on our productivity as human beings. How many stone tablets we could actually move from here to there in a given hour, or how many papers could be pushed and stamped. It's always been this push for productivity. And then companies like Microsoft came about and deployed tools throughout the enterprise to make everyone more productive. And in school, we were forced to memorize things and cram things in time-allocated, tests and whatever. It's always about productivity. And I think that as a lot of productivity is offloaded to compute, wow, I'm competing against a helicopter. Helicopter always wins. We're going to stand out more with our ideas and our ability to express them. And so I think that's a really interesting and important thing, because this means that a lot has to change, right? With this notion of workflow, everyone's always been focused on workflows across every industry. Most tools were developed to assist workflows, but the work is actually being removed from the workflow, and it's becoming more of flow. The idea that you have is sort of communicated through natural language in some tools and just gets done. You share you share image and it turns into code. A lot of the work is being removed. And so what are the implications here? Well, first of all, we need to start deploying some of the creative tools throughout the enterprise. If people are no longer standing out or getting promoted based on their productivity, they have to have tools that help them visualize and express their ideas more effectively. In schools, we need to start, putting creative tools and creative capabilities throughout the curriculum. Why should all creative skills be confined to an art class once a week on a Thursday at 4 p.m.? This is how these students are going to actually thrive and be promoted in their future jobs and be able to stand out in the creator economy and everything else. And yet these tools are still not deployed throughout school systems. So I get really amped up about this, and I'll calm and settle down now and get to the next wave. But the big shift here is that we're standing out from our creativity as opposed to because of our productivity. And I think that changes everything from the tools we use, how we assess talent, how we hire people, how we organize organizations, and everything in between. Moving on, second wave. The second wave is really exciting to me. It's that creative confidence is growing for humanity. Now, creative confidence has always been at our peak as average humans at around 5 or 6 years old, when we develop some degree of dexterity with our hand and eye control, and everything we do gets put on a refrigerator or gets a star from our teacher, and we get told how amazing and genius we are. And then from that moment forward, we go into this reality where we're surrounded by people who have better skills, and we're also surrounded by these people called critics who tell us why they don't like what we did. And then creative confidence goes down, and many of us actually stop drawing, we stop painting, we stop creating, we stop designing, we stop sharing things publicly, and it's sad that the artist gets squeezed out of us in our childhoods. And so it's really exciting to me that some of this new technology, this prompt-based, AI-assisted creative technology, for example, is now restoring creative confidence. And so many people who never felt comfortable designing a presentation are now designing a presentation, are making images to express themselves, are making their own birthday cards or wedding invitations or what have you. And I think it's a new era where we can actually start from something as opposed to from nothing, and we can have this like restored sense of creative confidence. We're entering an era where everyone's going to be able to discover content to edit, share, and use, where everyone's going to feel this degree of creative capability. And I think that's going to really transform what people are actually doing in their jobs. And then also, even for creative professionals, I've been in this industry for over 10 years, and everyone's always defined themselves by one category. I'm a photographer, or I'm an illustrator, or I'm a product designer. And now you're in a world where you no longer have to define yourself and constrain yourself by category. You're only truly constrained by imagination. And that is sort of the major shift that's happening in this second wave of the restoration of creative confidence for humanity, is this idea that instead of always having to go to find someone to tell our story, we can tell our own story. Instead of feeling segment constrained, you're imagination constrained. And instead of creative tools feeling so exclusive and hard to learn, they're actually widely available and creativity is somewhat democratized. I think this is a super exciting trend and will be very important for what humans even do in the future. Third wave. The third wave is that the opportunity of creative exploration is expanding and exploding. So this wave addresses a common retort I get to the previous wave, which is, oh, that's great, Scott. Everyone's going to be more creatively confident. What does this mean for creative professionals? It doesn't seem like they have a bright future. Well, it's actually the opposite is true, because a few things are happening, right? Creatives have always been constrained by time. So whenever you ask a great creative professional how they come up with a great solution to a problem, how they come up with an amazing brand that they're pitching one of their clients, they'll always say it's really about how much time I'm given. If I'm given enough time to explore 5 options, I'll do 5 and I'll pick the best 3 and I'll present them to the client. If I have enough time to explore a dozen options, or if I have 3 amazing interns that work for me, then we'll explore 12 or 15 options and whittle them down to the best 3 to present to the client. And so it's really a function of time. And what this technology is doing is it is vastly expanding the surface area that creatives get to explore. And I've spent the last year or so watching our customers at Adobe sort of engage with some of these brand new tools in their workflow, and it's been amazing to see, some of the things they end up doing. So first of all, they're the fun things, like we launched a product called Generative Fill that basically answers your question about what was going on around these famous album covers or famous memes or whatever else. But again, there's like an exploration. You can keep clicking the button and seeing variations of what might be around the person. But this is an example of a demo we showed a series of creatives where actually a few people started to actually cry. Like illustrators visibly had tears because they were packaging designers, and whenever they were done with the actual illustration, the vectors, they would have to figure out what the color palette would be. And to try a different color palette took days, where they would have to take this color palette that's pink and blue and then turn it into an entirely different pink, bold cyberpunk or red or blue or whatever or purple. And suddenly, with just a prompt, AI was doing it for them in seconds. Here's another example of turning this theme from fall into winter. And so when you can start to increase the surface area of exploration of even the decision like what color palette to use for an illustration for a series of product boxes that I'm launching for a line or something, you just end up finding better solutions. And so the other thing that we're learning, there's totally tons of companies that are exploring this. There's Adobe, there's a company called Runway that's doing amazing things with text to video that's also helping people that are creating video presentations make variations of certain scenes and testing them. But the point here is that by having this increased surface area of possibility, you find better solutions to problems. And this limitation of time that's always been imposed on us is yielding this 100x more cycles of discovery. And also, the limited surface area explored, again, finds better solutions. And there's also something else that we're dealing with right now, which is that we're all being inundated with content. And that's one thing we can rest assured there's going to be more of in the world, thrown at us every day, is content. Every brand is flooding the zone right now with content. And what that means is that the content actually has to get better to get our attention. And so creatives we're gonna need more of them to create more and better content, and they're gonna need these tools to find better solutions that stand out amidst all the rest of the content being thrown at us. So in some weird way, if creativity were a box, which I know is a very ironic example to use for the term creativity, but in some ways what I'm talking about is lowering the floor, like letting more people get in there by having restored creative confidence for the average person, and I'm talking about raising the ceiling, more possibilities being discovered with more cycles of discovery enabled by this technology. So what do we have here, right? We have way more participants getting into that box, and we have way more possibilities at the upper end of that box. And so you do a little math here, and you realize the world is about to get freaking crazy, right? We are going to have so many more possibilities and so many more participants in the creative world that we're entering a far more engaging and interesting and personalized digital experience for each of us. Which brings me to the fourth wave. The fourth wave is that the future of every digital experience is going to be hyper-personalized. And I don't think we have any idea what this really means yet, but it's going to hit us, and it's going to hit us relatively soon. It's wild to me, by the way, that still today, whenever we go to an e-commerce website, it asks us our gender, it doesn't know our shoe size, it's all generalized for all of us. Like everything is generalized for all of us. Yet the technology exists now for each of these experiences to be personalized for each of us. And I think that that's what the future is going to look like. Every digital experience will be made for each of us. We'll expect everything to kind of know our preferences. The shopping experiences, the communications that we get are tailored. Our documents, we're not going to have to read and find something. We're going to ask the document, and it's going to give us an answer. Applications are not going to be hard to learn. They're going to meet us where we are. If you're in some company and you're told to use some new application you've never used before, it's going to welcome you by name, and it's going to ask you what you want to accomplish, and it's going to teach you in a very natural way. And data is, of course, the fuel that's powering this era of personalization. But here's the thing, like my litmus test for whether this is true or not is my litmus test for all of the best technology in the world as both an investor as well as a product person. I believe that the best technology takes us back to the ways that we long for, but with more scale and efficiency. And the old days, 100 plus years ago, when we all lived in smaller towns and smaller communities without the digital world around us, we were known. You know, the butcher knew your favorite cut. The shoe person knew what shoes you had and knew your shoe size and knew if you had kids or not. You were known in your community, and that sensation that humanity lived with for over, 200, 300,000 years, we basically lost post the Industrial Revolution. So we long to get back to that sort of more natural state of humanity that we probably ancestrally crave. And if technology can make us feel known, albeit on our own terms, we don't want to not know how we're known. We want to know how we're known, right? We don't want it to be creepy. We want it to be in our control. I think that we will all be better off. Some brands are starting to play with this. So here's an example of a company, Carvana, and they made 1.5 million personalized videos for each one of their customers, where they took the actual car that they purchased, the color of their car, the name of their hometown, and the name of the customer. And everyone got a personalized video from Carvana about their journey buying their car. And people loved it. And they were like, this is so nice. And they weren't wondering how Carvana knew that information. Of course Carvana knows that information. I bought a car from them. So this is the type of thing that I mean. We're going to see this a lot more because of the technology that's enabling it. And so this fourth wave takes us from this world of generalized experiences where we're all random people to a world of more personalized experiences where we feel known. Instead of searching for things, you're going to converse and you're going to ask. Instead of learning an app, the app is actually going to learn you. It's going to know you and welcome you. And instead of things being data-driven, where we have to mine data and whatever else, it's going to be AI-driven. You know, we're going to be told who to market something to. We're not even going to know why. The AI is going to tell us, and we're going to trust it. Trust me. Number 5, the fifth wave of change that I felt was worth sharing, and it's probably the one that I care most about, being in the seat that I am in, seeing all this new technology coming, and it's like sometimes I wish that everyone would just stop for 1 week so I could just catch my breath. But I feel very strongly about this wave of change, which is that as a result of all that I just went through, as a result of every brand flooding the zone, as a result of all this content feeling hyper-personalized to each of us, all this stuff that's hitting us and soon hitting us more and more, we're going to crave story, craft, and meaning more than ever before. And think about the reason why we buy a piece of art. You know, it's not the value of the oil on the canvas. It's not sometimes even the beauty of the art. It's the story behind the art. It's the story and the craftsmanship that we relate to that makes us willing to pay real dollars for something. So there's a guy based in New York, right across the river here, named Casey Neistat, who is a great vlogger. Some of you probably know his work. And when ChatGPT came out, he did an experiment. He said, ChatGPT, write a script of exactly what Casey Neistat would do on the most amazing vlog in the city of New York City. And he got this output of this amazing script. Well, amazingly impressive that it actually spit out a script, I should say. And he took this script, and he did this script with his vlog for that day, word for word, scene direction by scene direction, location by location. And so you watch this vlog, and you can all go and watch it later, and it's like, he's in these random spots in New York City, and he'll say, I'm in this really cool spot where I come to get inspiration, and I've been coming here my whole life, and then you just see this like escalator going down, and it makes absolutely no sense. And then at the end of the vlog, he signs off, he ends it, and then he turns to camera, and he basically says, hey folks, this is the worst video I've ever made in my life. And the reason why is because it had no soul. And I thought about that, and it resonated with a lot of the feedback that I'm getting from a lot of other great creatives that I admire in the world that are using this technology, that are realizing that as good as this technology is, it's really bad at counterintuitive, soulful things. It's bad at things that conjure up emotion. It's bad at things that make us find meaning in something that we didn't expect. It's bad in the nuances of like a great poem that makes us like realize we just missed something really big. And so this soulfulness, I think, is something that we're going to crave more than ever before. We're going to crave these crafted experiences, and we're going to crave story, which kind of goes against a lot of what I just said, but it's true. Like that's what humans are going to, I think, start to gravitate towards. And so the shift that's happening in this fifth wave is as the flood of content comes, with everyone gaming SEO and everyone creating personalized versions of everything for each of us, we're just going to have a higher bar for experiences. When everyone's, we're in the world now where everyone seeks efficiency and scale and speed, we're going to start as consumers seeking meaning and scarcity. And instead of always being engaged by content and clickbait and things that catch our eye, I think we're going to start to be engaged more by meaning. Which goes to remind all of us that creativity that is ultimately effective is the creativity that moves us. Thank you.